Hello and welcome back to another PathFinder update video, and today I will be showing you the progress I've made with PathFinder these past few weeks. Now we're going to be tackling the different changes and progress that I've made in terms of the game becoming toggleable, the different colored laser, and just the different stuff. We'll tackle it. And most importantly, speech to text. Yeah, speech to text has been implemented inside of PathFinder. So without further ado, here's the demo.
Welcome to PathFinder. Feel free to look around, and when you're ready to get started, press Y. Before we begin, let's define a question to which you wish to find an answer and note it down. Click Next when ready.
How do I become more productive?
Great. Let's choose the card which reflects your current situation. Now, let's choose a card that demonstrates your desired state. Now, let's determine your biggest obstacle. The next card will show you possible solutions you may undertake. Almost there. Let's choose a card that will show you the resources and strengths you have. Look at the first card you selected. Look at your second card. What challenge does this card represent? Look at the third and fourth cards. What possible solutions do these cards suggest? Look at your fourth card. What strengths or external support does this card suggest? Look at your final card. How does it represent your goal or ideal future? If this card symbolized success, what would that look like for you? What is one first step you can take toward this vision? Summarize your goal in one sentence and write down the next step you'll take. Before we begin, let's define a question to which you wish to find an answer and note it down. Click Next when ready.
So there's a couple of things I'd like to tackle with the specific changes that have been made inside of the game. So as you can see, the game is now toggleable. So basically, in relative to where you're looking, the game will spawn. So it doesn't matter. All the cards will come with, and all of the slots, even if you are mid game, like you'd be able to toggle it and stuff like that. You know, even if the cards are flying and you're walking around, it would follow you because, again, it does account for all of that. And yeah, so you could literally play the game on top of a waterfall or something, depending on what the environment entails. So this is great because it shows like tremendous potential in like the different places and environments the game could be spawned, because the game really isn't tied to the world. Like if Sin decided to make like 10 different more environments, the game could just be spawned there easily. It doesn't have to be rebuilt because the game isn't really relative to the environment. It just spawns the game inside. So I've made the game so that like the game just stays inside of the VR pond. It stays inside of the game mode, so that whether or not the people who work on the different environments want to add like different things, they would be able to just add the game inside, and the player would be able to play it instantly. So yeah. And moving on to like the minor itsy bitsy details, the laser has now been changed to a different color and also a different mesh. So right now we haven't really worked on like a proper main menu, but if the main menu does get built, this is going to be the laser that we're going to be using. And then hopefully when like we would be focusing on the laser, I would add like a teeny tiny pointer, like sort of just like the menu inside of like the built-in VR template. I actually wanted to have this VR template laser inside of the game itself. Like not just within the menu, but inside of the Pathfinder game where we could actually use this laser. But I think it does take a bit of time to actually do that. I figured because I did a lot of research in it, and apparently it's just ingrained inside of the game, and you're better off just making your own laser. So that's what I plan on doing once we're focusing on the main menu itself. And so yeah. Next up is that the card no longer has like a built-in timer when you like pick it up, because initially, like even back then, like for a few months and even just in the previous builds, when you pick up the card, there's like a certain timer, like maybe like a 5-second timer where the player is able to just let go of the card and do whatever he wants. And so now that's been removed just because it really doesn't make sense to have the timer, to be honest. There are better ways to just go about like putting the card inside of the slot itself. And so yeah, right now the card detaches manually when the player chooses to do so, as opposed to the game being like, yeah, your timer's up, so now the card now goes inside the slot. No, you can just let go and the card goes into its respective slot. So you could take your time in it, really get a sense of like what this card actually means to you, what you think about it, what comes to mind, and how you interpret it. And so yeah, so next up is that the slot order. I fixed the slot order because the previous build, the slot orders were not intact, so now that's been fixed. And next is the more consistent state management of the card collision. So right now, previously the card collision was a little bit inconsistent. So as soon as, like, for example, if the voice is still playing, like "Welcome to Pathfinder," and then the voice is still playing, and then you just make the card game appear, the cards do not like that. They would instantly become grabbable, which is not something that we want in the game. We want them to click next first and not be able to touch anything, because at first they have to just think of a question in which they want an answer to, right? And then click next when ready, which is the A button. So when they click next when ready, that's when the cards become grabbable. And so yeah, that's what I fixed, and now everything works intact regardless of like when they disable or retoggle the card game. So yeah, I sort of just adjusted it so that it accounts to all of that. And next up is that the cards now get highlighted during the advanced summary phase. So if you're playing the game, you'd want to like be able to, it's just better if the user, doesn't have to think about like, oh, which card. It's just a little thing, it's not really like a massive hurdle, but like it's just better if the card that actually is being talked about becomes highlighted, so that the user gets to see it, gets to, for example, it's like, look at the first card gets highlighted, the second card, third and fourth, and they get highlighted now every time that card gets talked about. And next is that the card game can now be replayable. So after you like click next, there's gonna be this screen like, thank you for playing Pathfinder, and you can click A again to play the game. So all of that, the actors get destroyed in the end, but once you click A, they get rebuilt again, and the game basically restarts to where it was. So basically you can play this endlessly right now. Like you can play it however many times you want. You would get different cards, because again, I have modified the game so that the cards always get shuffled on build, and so every time you get different cards based on that deck. So yeah, not every time you get different cards, but like, within the shuffle. Yeah, so yeah, that's that. I added instructions in the text box inside of it, like it's actually fixed onto the user's camera, so that the user actually, like it's again not inside of the world, and the user sees it easily. The funny thing is, you're actually the text is actually not compatible with VR, like how you usually do it in like video games inside of a PC, you actually have to make a physical 3D text, and I had to attach it onto the camera so that like it actually works. But I mean, it's practically the same. It doesn't really matter. It was just really interesting because initially I actually tried to just display it onto the screen, but it's a VR game, so it has to be within a 3D space. So like the text is attached onto the camera. It's still a 3D widget, but it's attached onto the camera. So yeah, so there you go. I added more voice lines, which is welcome to Pathfinder and stuff like that. And finally, I added the speech to text. Now, the speech to text hasn't really been properly ingrained into the game, but just to show you how it looks like and how it works, this is speech to text. I've managed to integrate it inside of the Pathfinder game, and you can test it out, you know, say some things and see how it's gonna look like. Obviously that's not how it's how it's going to be. Like there's probably gonna be a button where people can toggle and just say things onto it, as opposed to like, you know, just it being there. There's probably gonna be a button like, oh, start recording or something. But yeah, right now that's not really integrated yet, but that will be integrated in the future. And so yeah, that is it for this week. So I really had a great time just, you know, learning a bunch of these things, because honestly it's great. Like I've learned a lot. I'd actually like to show you. So these are the blueprints that I have. This is speech to text wise. I added like really extensive comments, you know, just in case someone else sees my code and would like to comment on it. So yeah, I added a bunch of these. And the slot card, card selection, this has been more organized. Now I made a lot of changes here on the card selection blueprint, so I had to modify the whole entire comment blocks into different ones, because every time I make a change, I have to modify the comment. So here it is. I made a bunch of, you know, this is more now. Like I added a few different more blueprint designs, like reset game state, reset game. Added more stuff here in the event summary to account for, you know, the text. And so yeah, the big thing that got added here is the BP_ game manager, this one, because previously initially it actually wasn't in the previous build, but like, so yeah, this is where the logic for spawning the game is. And then, you know, this is where the toggle, that is how the toggle works. These events get called every time the player presses the button and stuff like that. And there's like functions here that I added and stuff like that. This looks kind of ugly but yeah, so some of them intersect, and maybe I might have not been the best at keeping them a little more tidier, but I did try my best to make them tidy by just making them variables and not like intersect with each other. Otherwise this would actually look a little spaghettier. So yeah, anyway, so that's been my progress with Pathfinder. I really enjoyed working on this game. It's really fun to learn a bunch of things about Unreal Engine, and I've honestly I've learned a lot of things. I've failed many times, you know, built so many things. So yeah, I'm really excited to see what our future progress is going to be. As I said, this is going to be where the voice is going to be, like where the speech to text is. You can try it out. It's in the APK if you guys want to sideload it. And so yeah, that is it. Thank you guys for watching and listening, and I will see you all in the next update video. See ya!